So, a couple of months ago, I got called up very last minute to race in GT World Challenge at the Nürburgring with Garage 59, and I did make a video about it, so if you haven't seen that already, click the card above, it will take you to that video. Watch that first before you watch this one. And yeah, after that race went so well, I was hoping there might be a chance I get invited back for the final race in Barcelona. And with around 8 days to go until the cars hit the track, I got the good news that I've been invited back, so I dropped everything I was doing immediately. I started prepping hard on the sim.
Ridiculous.
I packed all my bags, got myself to Barcelona ASAP. And yeah, Barcelona, another track I've not raced at in real life. I've done a lot of sim work, obviously, on Barcelona over the years. Generally, it's a track I go pretty well at on the sim, which bodes well. And in preparation for this race, I used iRacing as my sim of choice. I think for me, all of the factors considered, iRacing gives me the best overall prep for real life GT3 racing. So yeah, the reasons for that we can get into on another video. SimmerCube also sent me another active pedal, so I have a 3 pedal set instead of a 2, so the pedal set I've got now on the sim is closer to the real life pedal set. I use the third one obviously as a clutch, so I can practice my pullaways, coming back into the box, all those sort of things, the finer details, but anything I can do to close the gap between this and the car is going to help me. Right, so could we go one better than the Nürburgring and get a class victory in GT World Challenge? Let's find out. The first test session was on Thursday afternoon, and it wasn't the best opening test I've had at a GT World Challenge weekend. I only got 10 laps in total, which is quite low, and it was because I didn't get my final run, which was meant to be quite a long run because of red flags. It was quite a red flaggy session. So yeah, it just goes to show in motorsport, in real life racing, you really don't get that much track time, and sometimes most of it gets wiped away from, yeah, as I say, red flags and stuff like that. But yeah, the car felt fast. It did feel really good, and we felt instantaneously more competitive than we were at the Nürburgring, which was a good sign. Obviously, it's early days, and there's still a lot to be found in the track and other teams and other drivers, but we felt immediately stronger, which was good. This was also the session where I filmed the driver's eye video that I put on the channel last week, so if you haven't watched that already, click on the card above. It's definitely worth a watch. And in this session, in the 10 laps I did, I identified, I guess you could call it a bad habit that I'd taken over from the sim into the real car that was holding me back. And it was related to my braking technique. So basically on iRacing in the GT3s, threshold braking with quite a low peak pressure is quite fast. That's how I was finding the lap time on the sim before heading to the track. By, you know, not putting loads of peak pressure through the brake, threshold braking quite deep into the corner. However, in the real car, understandably, that's not optimal. Yeah, in the real car, you need to hit quite a big peak pressure initially. So as you're approaching the braking zone, massive hit on the brake to around 120, 130 bar, and then it quite sharpishly trails off. The trail brake is quite aggressive. So yeah, you don't threshold brake that often, at least in the McLaren, if you want to be at the very limit of the car. You'll usually have a peakier brake shape compared with, say, iRacing, where it's a bit more thresholdy, a bit more flat. So yeah, after bashing through the data on Thursday night, I realised I was doing this, and after doing some more digging as well, I realised I was doing it a little bit at the Nürburgring as well in some corners. So I needed to change it immediately, because braking in real life, the way I would in iRacing, it doesn't look that bad, it doesn't feel that bad, but it just means I couldn't brake as late as other pro drivers. So I had to brake 10, 15, 20 meters earlier. It didn't seem like it was costing me that much lap time, because, you know, I'd be slower on the way in, but maybe gain a little bit on the way out. But overall, I'd lose half a tenth here, which doesn't seem that bad. But over a lap, that can soon add up to 3-4 tenths, half a second. Anyway, there was no driving on Friday, and it gave me a chance to reset, bash through the data a bit more, figure a few other things out, and practice driver swaps, that sort of stuff. I bumped into David Perel in the paddock and showed him and the rest of the paddock that there's a reason I never wear hats, because as you can see, I look absolutely bizarre. I don't get what it is. As soon as you can't see my hair, I just look like a different person. So yeah, such a shame really, as I do like wearing hats, but there you go. My teammates for the weekend were the same as Nürburgring, so Tom Fleming and Guilherme de Oliveira, and we were racing in the Silver Cup class once again, as we're all silver graded drivers. And in that class, there was 19 cars. Overall, there were 60 cars, so almost a third of the grid was in the Silver Cup class, which is pretty nuts. On Saturday morning, we had free practice, and I had a much better run of it in this session. I managed to get way more laps under my belt. I managed to fix my braking technique, so I was braking properly and I could brake as late as the other pros. We then moved on to pre-qualifying later that day. I got another short run in the car, which was nice, and this session, it really highlighted to me how bad the tyre degradation was in Barcelona. On these Pirelli tyres that they run in GT World Challenge, they're quite peaky, so initially out of the box they're very grippy, but then the tyre deg is quite bad. But Barcelona, for some reason, with the nature of the medium high-speed corners, with the high temperatures, quite an abrasive surface as well, it just made for huge tyre deg. So yeah, just to give you an idea of how bad it was, from the start of a stint where you have a new tyre to the end of the stint, you'd be lapping around 3 seconds a lap slower. So yeah, tyre wear was huge, and it felt like, someone described it really well, that it was like driving on slicks in the wet when you got to the end of the stint. So when you were driving on an old tyre, it felt absolutely awful, like really, really slippy. Yeah, what this also meant was, in qualifying, the first lap was quickest as the tyres peaked really early. So this was a little bit different to Nürburgring. In Nürburgring, there was a bit more of a build-up, so laps 2, 3 and 4 would generally be the quickest. But here in Barcelona, it was out lap, bang, lap 1 was your quickest, maybe lap 2 if the tyre would hang on. Overall though, we felt fast. We were happy with the car and the balance and the setup and where it was. We were pretty confident that driver swaps and stuff were nice and clean and smooth. So yeah, and the BOP felt more favourable than it was in Nürburgring as well. So in our eyes, we just needed to turn up, deliver, do a good job. So with that being said, on to Sunday. Let's see how it went. So I was in the first qualifying session and I set 3 laps all within 0.2 of each other. So Mr. Consistent, but the quickest one of those laps was a 1 minute 40.726, which was set on my 3rd lap. And overall, that was 0.8 off the quickest lap overall in that session, and just over 0.5 off the quickest McLaren. So yeah, it doesn't sound that great, and to be honest, it wasn't that great. Still, it put me P15 overall and P3 in class in that session, so it wasn't all that bad. But yeah, it definitely wasn't as strong as my Nürburgring qualifying, for example. I underdrove the car way too much in this one, leaving too much time on the table. And as I said earlier, the quickest lap on the tyre in qualifying was lap 1 or 2. And yeah, I set my fastest lap on lap 3, and it had mistakes in it as well. So yeah, it does go to show my biggest weakness in real racing at the minute is getting out on track and being on the limit straight away. When I have some laps to get in a groove, I'm fine. Absolutely no problem at all. But it's that getting up to pace immediately. I mean, when you think about it, you know, you've not been on track for almost a day. You know, you've been asleep in the hotel, you come to the track, you have your breakfast, and then you get in the car and you're expected to go out lap, then bang, first push lap needs to be on the limit. It's a very hard skill to have and to do. But yeah, I think honestly the lack of track time and experience is probably the main reason for this. When comparing myself to other pro drivers, I'm guessing they have a better idea of where that limit is, so they can just get to it a lot quicker, whereas I'm wary of it. I don't know fully where it is, so it takes me a little bit longer. And yeah, naturally, you're going to have a difference in confidence behind the wheel with that as well. So they're going to be a bit more confident, which results in lap time as well. So if you underdrive, before you know it, you're half a second down. And in this case, I lost all that time from just being a bit of a wuss, basically. On the brake a bit early, braking a bit too much, not carrying as much speed through this corner and not getting on the gas as soon as I should be, that sort of stuff. Of course, you can go the other way with it. So you can push too hard, and then you can result in having a spin or a crash, and that's obviously way worse, especially in GT World Challenge Endurance, when a lot of it is keeping the car in good nick and it's a race of attrition in that sense. But yeah, to summarise, that is my main area for improvement in real racing, and that is why my race stints tend to be better than my qualifying performances in real racing as of right now. But yeah, regardless of all that, we will still watch my best qualifying lap just to show you guys what it is like around this track in the GT3 on a full push lap. My teammates did a mega job in their session as always, and overall we qualified P5 on the grid, P1 in class, and yeah, for a Silver Cup car to be that high up the grid is just insane. So yeah, unbelievable qualifying overall. Once again, I'd been given the pleasure of starting the race, and yeah, I thought I'd be less nervous this time round as I'd already done a race start in Nürburgring, but to be honest, I think I was more nervous. I think it's because we were starting higher up the grid. I was like, yeah, I felt more nervous this time round, and I knew what to expect, whereas in Nürburgring I just did not expect how crazy it was going to be. But yeah, the running order for the race was the same as last time, so myself starting the race, Guy doing the mid stint, and then Tom doing the final stint to complete the race for us. So yeah, a very simple strategy given it's only a 3-hour race. Once I took the car around to the grid, and yeah, the grid by the way was insanely busy. I think it must have been because it was the final race of the year. It was like F1 level of people there. It was just so many people on the grid. But yeah, once I'd done that and then the warm-up lap, it was time to do another GT World Challenge race start. Let's watch it through. So you can see we're approaching the final corner. The safety car's pulled in, so at this point it's down to the leader as to when we're going to go. Dean McDonald and Benji Goethe, the other Garage 59 cars, are on the front row. We've got a factory Ferrari, I think Abril's driving this one, and then Jules Gounon in that Mercedes to the left. So you can see I'm brake boosting, I'm trying to get the turbo spooled up, and I'm waiting for Dean to pull the trigger, and you can see, yeah, we got a slightly worse start than we did in Nürburgring. Gounon didn't get the best start either, but yeah, the Ferrari in front of us had a really good start. We're going to try and brake as late as we can without running into someone into T1. You can see Picarelli there in the Porsche having an absolute blinder of a start. I think he was like 3 or 4 spots back, so he's had a really good start. You see the Ferrari there almost on the gravel, and you can see that the tyres are really cold as Maro Engel in the Mercedes is coming around the outside there. The tyres are still quite cold. You can't do that much warming up on the warm-up lap, so you've got to be careful, otherwise it'd be very easy to loop it. So we're going to have the inside line for T4, and we do actually hold the position against Maro Engel there. So he looked like he got the move done on us, but because we had the inside, we could hold, I think this is 6th place, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah. So we've, oh, you can see there, the tyres are not where they should be yet. They're still quite cold. So yeah, we've dropped 1 position overall, which is still absolutely fine. And you can see through there as well, T7, the fronts just would not bite. So it's quite an unnerving feeling, you know, maximum fuel, cold tyres, everyone's pushing like hell. And yeah, but as I say, P6 overall, we've got 6 or 7 cars between me and the next silver car. As you can see, the Ferrari and the Porsche in front of us fighting, which is good for us because we can get closer to them, but at the same time, I don't want to be backed up. I remember looking in my mirrors and seeing Maro Engel fighting Guven, the reigning DTM champ, really hard. So that was giving me a bit of breathing room behind. But yeah, you can see the safety car came out, and that was the end of lap 1. Not as crazy as the Nürburgring lap 1. That was particularly mad, but still, there was enough going on, and I'm sure my heart rate was above 180. So yeah, a solid first lap. For the rest of the stint, it was relatively tame in terms of action. I was hanging onto the back of the factory Ferrari in front. I was building ever so slightly a gap behind to Maro Engel and Guven. So yeah, things were looking really strong. In the end, my stint got cut short as there was a massive shunt just before turn 7 between 2 cars, which brought out the safety car. And yeah, it was a long safety car period. But up until this point, I was P6 overall, P1 in class, and then there was a 7-place gap down to the next Silver Cup car. So yeah, we were in a very strong position leading up to this point. However, this is when our race started to unravel. And it's actually not been that obvious. Like, people saw it when they were watching the live stream. They asked me what happened. So Garage 59 have 3 cars in this championship, but every team in the pit lane gets 2 garages, even if they have 3 cars. So you can't box all 3 cars on the same lap. There's just not enough space. And despite the fact I was 6th overall, I was still the 3rd Garage 59 car, which goes to show, by the way, what a weekend they had. Like, those cars were flying. But yeah, what that did mean is when the pit lane opened under the safety car, the first 2 cars boxed to get a cheap pit stop. Like in F1, the leading car gets the preferential strategy, and it's the same in this. Whereas I had to wait an extra lap before coming into the box. So I was traveling at safety car speed for an extra lap, whereas the cars that boxed, when they came out of the pits, they could lap, or they could push a lot harder to catch the back of the safety car, and they made up all that ground on me. So yeah, as well as that, in our pit stop, the Century Motorsport BMW in front of us was very close and it was blocking us in. So we had to push the car back to get a good pit exit with Guy behind the wheel. So we lost a further 5 seconds there, which wasn't ideal. So amongst all those things, we'd gone from P1 in class and P6 overall to P4 in class and P24 overall. So yeah, just super unlucky. It was a massive setback. We could still get a result from there, but it really did hurt our race massively, going from such a strong position to quite far down. But yeah, as I said earlier, Guy was in the car next and he did a good stint actually. He made up a couple of positions in the train, so went up to P22 overall by the time he boxed. And yeah, I'm sure many of you are aware with Barcelona, it's probably one of the worst tracks for overtaking. Really hard to follow cars, the dirty air is super bad. So as soon as you got to the car in front, you just got loads of understeer. So it was very, very hard to make any progress. So later in the race, one of the Audis had a massive shunt, which brought out the safety car again. And it was at that point we boxed and got Tom in the car for the final stint. And at that stage, we were P22 overall and P3 in class. So not too bad. And we were coming back into it as well. And yeah, with 1 hour left to go, Tom was a man on a mission. He had a very, very strong third stint. And yeah, he made up a lot of positions. With the field being so bunched up from the safety car, he was overtaking quite a lot of cars. In fact, on one lap, he overtook 4 cars in very quick succession. So let's watch that quick. So yeah, some mad progress there from Tom. And yeah, things were looking really good. We were up to P14 overall, P2 in class. And yeah, there was only 2 laps to go. And I suppose the only negative was that we were being hunted down quite quickly from Jordan Pepper behind in the Lamborghini. And well, with 1 lap and 1 corner to go, this happened. Yeah, not great that. Not great. So yeah, that dive bomb gave us a right front puncture and it meant we had to crawl around on the final lap and we lost so much time in that process. So in the end, we finished the race P36 overall and P10 in class. Not the result we were hoping for, given where we were after the first stint, but yeah, it really was a race of what could have been. You know, if the first pit stop didn't cost us as much time as it did, I honestly think we could have had an overall podium, easily a class win, but I think we could have had an overall podium as well. And yeah, ultimately we wouldn't have been in that position at the end of the race, so we wouldn't have got taken out. But that's racing sometimes, I guess, and it sucks. It really does, you know. I was absolutely chuffed with how my stint went, to be honest, if there's a silver lining in all this. So yeah, as I always show you, here's a lap chart showing you the race pace from the race. And as you can see, I'm in the mix once again with some big names from that first stint. So yeah, that's always really nice to see, and it's always a bit of a pinch me moment when I see my name amongst such amazing drivers. But yeah, there's no doubt it would have been really nice to get a result. Righto, well that is a little roundup for you all on what went down in Barcelona. And that of course marks the end of the GT World Challenge season. So yeah, I didn't expect to be doing any races this year. So the last couple of months have been a very nice surprise. And yeah, I feel very grateful for these 2 opportunities. So a big thank you to Garage59. I think we all need to get down in the comments and just simply say thank you, Garage59, because it wouldn't have happened without them calling me up. So yeah, as well as that, a big shout out to my teammates Tom and Guy. They've been class on and off the track, and in fact all of the Garage59 drivers across all 3 cars I've learned a lot from in both rounds. So yeah, a big thank you to all of them, and they're all top drivers. So just being in the debriefs and listening to them and picking up on little things they say and the way they go about doing things, it's been really interesting. I've definitely learned a lot. And as always, I appreciate you guys watching the video, and thank you as well for all the kind messages and comments and stuff. It's been really nice to see. So yeah, definitely a big thank you to you all. I have no idea when I'll be back in a race car. As always, over the winter, I'll be pushing really hard to try and get a full season under my belt for 2026. It would be great to do a full campaign, try and push for a championship of some description, instead of just doing the odd race here and there. But as we all know, motorsport is a tough old game, so I can't promise anything. But as always, give the video a like if you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel as it really helps, and I will catch you all on a video very soon. So take care, see you later.
Hey James, do you make videos?